Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, you know who's riding shotgun with me. It's my main man, Reggie. What's going on today,
Right.
Reg?
Oh man, I'm good, man. I'm always riding shotgun, but for the folks that are listening and for the folks that are actually watching us on YouTube, you'll see that we got an extra guest with us, special guest. We got a guy that's we like to call him a good friend of the show. You know, he's been gracious enough to give us a little bit of his time this evening. As a Commanders, Washington Redskins / Commanders fan, he's our lucky number 13, AA square, Mr. Anthony Armstrong. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Ooh, you even got the soundboard going. Okay.
Yeah.
Live studio audience. What's going on,
welcome.
man? Glad to be here with y'all. Glad to be here and off camera. We were talking off camera, off tape, whatever you want to say. We were just talking about how we have a weird connection that I had met Ken previously.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm a realtor here in Texas. So hit me up. Don't everybody hit me up, but I'm a realtor here in Texas. I take pride in my job, Ken. So I know I can't help everybody, but when I do, man, I do a damn good job at it. But I was showing a house back in the day, and I opened the closet. I saw a Redskins. I could probably find the tweet. I think I tweeted it, and I was like, I showed a house today, and then here it is. It's a Redskins paraphernalia and memorabilia all in the house. I see this stuff, and then I go to the closing, and I end up bringing a card because I'm like, I don't know who it is, but I'm just going to bring this card and drop it off. It's got to be a Redskins fan. I get there, and it's Ken, and he's like, "Hey, Anthony," and I'm like, "Well, hey, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "That's random. I'm about to go close a deal with a guy who's a Redskins fan." He's like, "Oh yeah, that was my house," and I'm like, "What?" If you didn't know, back when they did the Redskins rallies, Ken was in charge of running the one in Dallas. So he showed me a picture of me and your daughter, right?
Yeah.
At the Redskins rally, like probably that year prior before he had sold that house. So the only issue I have, Ken, is like, I wish you would have let me list the house in the first place. But I'm glad we got to work together indirectly and then get reconnected, and didn't even think about it. Been on the podcast multiple times, and then today it hits. We're like, oh yeah, we've known each other for a while. So
we've crossed paths, different ways numerous times throughout the years, and for those that haven't had the pleasure of crossing paths with Anthony, I mean, down to earth, super friendly, nice guy. If you didn't know he was wearing any burgundy gold, you wouldn't know he was a football player. You thought he was just your buddy at the bar enjoying watching the game, and that is who Anthony Armstrong is to the core. You can figure that out real quick. So again, thank you for joining today, Anthony.
Absolutely, man. Glad to be here. Let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah. Excuse me. What I was going to say though, man, times have changed, right? As Commanders fan, and as us who've never played the game as fans, we're proud to wear the gear, to sport the hats, and do all these kinds of things. But we know that there were some troubles behind the scene with alumni in the organization. But how are things now? How does it feel now as a former player, alumni, to be associated with the Commanders as of today, Anthony?
Man, there's a lot of pride. I got mine on right now. I went and put on my hoodie before I came over here, man. Like I didn't used to have my stuff out, like, and it wasn't. I don't know if it was like the team being associated with the team. Like even when you were like, "Oh yeah, I play in the league," like, "Oh for real? Who you play for?" And I'm like, "Play for Washington." And they were like, "Ooh, what was that like?" And you'd have to kind of go through that whole getting grilled about what's it like in the facility, and who is it like this? And it's just like you don't want to have to go through that. And plus, it wasn't on field success. So now, you proudly like, I'm with the Commanders. You know what I mean? They're like, ain't nobody even trying to joke you about the name. I do still get people that are fans of other teams. They're like, man, that's the best, logo ever. They got to bring it back. So there's still a lot of support for that. But to be, not in the front, I want to call it a front runner, but to have more people supporting you and like being in the positive light in a national sense, it's really good, man. And it's really fun to be on this side of things rather than just try to be the underdog ruining somebody's Sunday.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because even as fans, you know, people see you wearing the gear, they ask you who you root for and all that type of stuff. And it was the same thing. We were always having to defend our fandom and why we root for the team, as opposed to you could root for anybody else, you know. And then you talk about the ownership, all the things that we had no control over. But as loyal fans, we remain fans of the team. And but to your point now, those same people are coming up and you're getting all the, man, you guys look good, and Jayden Daniels and all the positives that come with the team. And we're talking about football and not all of the other stuff. And so as a regular fan, this has been pretty cool for us as well, man.
I can only imagine. I mean, because I would always hear the glory days, right? They're like, oh, well, back when, you know, Jack can't cook and RFK and that they all, you hear all those stories. You're like, man, that would be love, you know, to have that type of, you know, just everything just kind of working in one motion and going in one direction, and powerful things can happen. And I think you're getting back to that time, though. I really think that's something that, you know, you really got to be proud of and know that some of those glory days are probably coming up here soon.
And for those that don't follow Anthony Armstrong, if you're a Commanders fan and you don't follow Anthony, you're missing out. I mean, not only is he throwing nuggets out, but he's a passionate fan. I mean, you see videos of him jumping up and down. He's happy. He's proud of his gear. So he's on Twitter or X. It's rated Armstrong.
Yep.
Right. Like rated G, rated PG, rated Armstrong.
Yeah.
Follow him. You will enjoy it. If you're a fan of the Commanders, you will enjoy that.
I will tell you, I got that nickname. I didn't make it up. Actually, I didn't make it up. I took it from somebody else who suggested it. It was whenever we acquired Pierre Garçon. Mm-hmm. And one of the Twitter, you know, fan pages, I think it was Burgundy blog, maybe.
Okay.
He said, if we get Pierre Garçon, he should, you know, he should get 13 from Armstrong so he could be PG-13. And then I said, well, then I guess that would make me rated Armstrong. And I was just like, oh, that's kind of nice. And it took me a while to change it on X because they wouldn't let you change it. But once what's his name took over, they let you change it. So I swapped it over to go rated Armstrong, and I like it. I'm running with it.
Yeah.
Pierre was a good dog, man. Was he a good dude? He came across publicly as a good dude anyway.
Pierre is a great dude. He does a lot down in Haiti, like with bringing water purification systems and things like that. So he definitely cares for his country. He's definitely a dog. He was a dog out there on the field. I have a screenshot on my phone where he made that catch one-handed backwards when he was with Indianapolis. And I was like, I remember that catch. I was on the sideline just watching Peyton Manning go to work. And that was like, oh, my God. I'm like, that's a crazy catch. I think that was Sunday Night Football up there in FedEx Field. Man, what a day.
You talking about, you know, looking back and watching Peyton, you know, do his work. How much would you like to rewind the clock and be able to run with Jayden Daniels right now? All of a sudden you're 23, 24 years old, and they just signed you as a free agent. How happy would you be, Anthony?
Man, I'd be grinning from ear to ear. You saw it just now. Look, I'm going to the podiatrist tomorrow, man. Check out my foot, see if I can get back out there. I got a couple plays left just in case. And I can run a little bit too now. So if you need a spell, hit me up, Dan. Hit me up, AP. You know what I mean? Short notice. I'll be down here for the game against Dallas. Just sign me the week of. I'll meet you at the game. No, man. The way he leads, but the way you could tell the way he throws the football and where he places it. The accuracy is on point. It's intentional, and you can build a lot of quick trust with that, right? You saw the quick rise of Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors and what they did at LSU, and he made them top 10 receivers, right? Top 10 draft picks. And he's having the same success with Terry McLaurin, and the way that offense was moving is how he handles himself, man. You got to want to be around it. He could tell he has a magnetic personality that people are going to raise their game up, and where he goes, the team is going to go, and everybody's behind him too. So it's not just like, well, he's going to save the day. It's like, we got your back, but you are a leader for sure. Where you go, we go, but we have your back 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been pretty impressive, obviously, from afar. And, living here in Dallas, we don't get the luxury of going to DC, getting into some of the fan events and things of that nature. But, we try to stay tuned in to all the podcasts and just people posting and the videos and things of that nature. And what you see and what you hear, the message seems to be the same. I mean, to your point, you heard Zach Ertz talk about how he wished he could rewind his career and play with Jayden Daniels. You hear the veterans saying, as long as we got 5, we're gonna be good, right? We're fine, and those types of things. So the message is the same. I think what I like the most about him, I don't have any problem with guys being confident and having swag and those things, but it's a thin line between having that swag and confidence and being cocky. And I like the fact that his meter leans more toward the confidence side of it, and he's a quiet leader as opposed to being the cocky, real loud, boisterous. That's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
Some people love the big voice type leaders. Just personally, I like the fact that Jayden is kind of more of a quiet leader personally. So
yeah, it's something where you gotta you treat your words with a lot like they're gold. You know what I mean? You don't want to just drop. You always have something to say at the drop of a hat, and it's interesting to say that whenever you're like doing it in a media space, but you got to speak carefully. But it's more so show me is the biggest thing. Show me what you're doing, and you could tell from day one he's shown these team and this organization how he's going to prepare himself. That's why you can show up so confident. You know what I mean? Yeah. Preparing and watching tape and doing the VR and being ahead of the game. When it's a mistake and he shortens the timeline of feedback, that's huge in a transformation, right? Instead of saying, oh, hey, let's just get it on tape later on in the meeting room, he's immediately after the play. Hey, man, why did you do this? What's up? Let's get on the same page so we can get it fixed the next rep. That's how you get better. And when you hold your team to that standard, it's going to permeate throughout the organization quickly, and it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. And speaking of coming to a team, being a new leader, being a new teammate, right? We have some new guys that came to the team as new teammates. And again, you're talking leadership. And so there was a little bit of buzz about who was at OTAs, who's not at OTAs, right? So my question to you is, if you're a new teammate coming to a new team and you miss OTAs, big deal, no deal?
If you're a new teammate?
So I'm going to be specific. Take Laramie Tunsil. He was probably the biggest one. People were questioning Marshawn Lattimore not being there, but he was there last year. Terry's not there, and we think that that's more business decisions. Yeah. But Laramie Tunsil is the one guy who's already under contract, who came to the team, is not there because Debo has been there, but Laramie is the one guy who's the new teammate, and he's not there. So we have our opinions about it, but I want to know what your opinion is. That a big deal or no deal?
I got to lean on the side of saying that it's voluntary still, right? Mm-hmm. And you think that he's probably has enough clout and has enough on his resume where you can pull up the tape and say, is this what your normal off season is like? And he's like, yeah. Then I'm probably gonna, sit back and chill and like let him do his thing, right? If that's his process, you know what I'm saying? Right. Dan Quinn. And they seem to run an organization where everybody's going to be on the same page of, hey, you're doing this, tell me what you're up to. Not in a micromanagement type of way, but just in an open form of communication. Now, it'd be different if it was like some little, undrafted small time, you know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, where you at? You need to communicate some things, but I'm not going to trip about it right now. I think that Laramie is a guy that probably has a process of how he does things, and I'm going to let this stuff play out. Now, if you get into the mandatory stuff and you're not there, now that's like, come on now. Yeah. What's the issue? Then Terry, nothing burger. He did it last year, or not last year, but he did it a couple of years ago before he was getting a contract. Kind of surprised me because I thought he would. Maybe he was the guy that was just going to show up, but no, you got to play that game sometimes. You got to go ahead and put it on the table and let them know, hey, I'm not going to show up. Even though it's voluntary, but you know what he is. You know who Terry McLaurin is. Yeah. He ain't going to show up in a helicopter, you know what I mean, and interrupt practice when he makes his entrance.
Okay, well, fair enough, man. Like I said, I don't know that I thought it was a big deal either. It was just that I know it became a topic once the media had access to OTAs last week, and it was immediately about who wasn't there. Yeah. And so Twitter became kind of a buzz about it, and people had strong opinions on both ways. Me personally, I felt like it's voluntary. To your point, he's a veteran, got some skins on the wall. It's probably okay. Me personally, given in the same situation, coming to a new team, I probably would just showed up. Even if I didn't practice, I probably would just showed up just to be present. But I'm not going to hold it against him for not being there simply because it was voluntary and he is a vet. So
let me add this though. I mean, this is just me thinking next couple of levels. I mean, frankly, I would much rather have Josh Connerly get every single rep right now. You know what I mean? Would it be great to have Laramie there? Yes, but he's going to take out of the 10, 12 reps, he's going to go in there and take a couple just for the sake of breaking the huddle and say the drama. Let me get this young man some more reps, right? Even if it is a half speed stuff, right? I want my tackle who's going to be tied to Jayden Daniels for the next 10, 15 years, 20 years. I need them two guys to be married to each other, you know, and obviously you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I need those guys to work together more important than having Laramie Tunsil show up. So yeah, nothing burger for me.
Yeah. I didn't think so.
Last year, kind of going into the season, went through most of the training camp, and we'd had a conversation with Candy during training camp last year, and she had mentioned, because of our observations also on practice squads and then the preseason games, that Jahan Dotson wasn't being utilized. It was, you know, he was kind of the missing guy. And then about that time, I think we interviewed her, and it was like a day or two later, all of a sudden he got traded. And Washington went with, you know, Terry and De'Ami Brown and the crew. And you're like, man, this is different. You know, it was kind of taken back. And this year, in a little bit of a way, there's a change. There's you know, now De'Ami's gone, right? Yeah. And they bring in Deebo Samuel. Noah Brown's should be back. They went and drafted Jalen Lane, Luke, his second year. Yeah. It's a totally different room,
Michael Gallup,
this season from a wide receiver than last year, and they were successful last year. You know, what did you think going into the season with the wide receiver crew that they had, and the unknown of Jayden as the season started?
You know, going all the way back, the one thing I think you miss, and you still miss it now, is the size, right? I think you need a tall receiver that's the 50-50 ball guy, that can maybe be the physical and have that height. You know, Deebo brings a physicality to his games, to his play style, and Noah was, when he was operating in the offense, I loved how the offense ran that way. I think the running game seemed to be better whenever you had Noah out there. And the reason why that works more is because he can do the physical blocking on the safeties. And as a defense, they have to decide, do we want to put an extra person in the box to stop this run? Or are we going to be able to play too high? If you have a receiver that is not going to get intentional and really try to block somebody, and the defense knows that, they'll stay in a too high, and then they'll force you into a run, but then they'll be aggressive to stop the run because your receivers aren't going to make the blocks. You can't let them do both. You get what I'm saying? Right, so whenever they had Noah in there, they could do some play action, and he could do the drift routes and take some of that work off of Terry and allow Terry to be more vertical downfield guy. I think Deebo still fits that same role. But I think the question where you're going to have to see where it fits in is probably going to be Lane, is who's your deep speed guy, right? Who's going to be able to push the top off of this thing? And it seems like everybody has, you know, some one or two things that they do that, you know, pretty well. But who's going to fill up the bottom of the roster? I don't know, because it's going to be some interesting decisions that are going to have to be made. I can tell you that this year is going to be some change. I think you can probably lock up 5 or 6 guys right now, but there may be somebody who makes enough noise to jump up. There may be somebody who gets cut that you thought would have been here for their 3rd or 4th year. So
what do you
decisions?
Yeah. One of the interesting people that they brought in, and I'd like you to comment on how difficult it is to come back, is Michael Gallup, right? He had an injury, then took a whole season off. He was basically retiring, and now, how is it on your body to try to get it back in shape? Because it's not like he's 23 years old, right? I'm not going to say he's old, but he's been in the league for a while and had the injury. I mean, he has to be mentally 100% committed if he's going to do this. I just wanted your comment or view of the challenges that he might have.
Man, for Gallup coming off of that knee injury, it was going to be gaining confidence in that knee and being able to run those routes, and knowing that you can stop on a dime. And if you have any discrepancy, if you have any delay in that thought, then you can't be out there running this game. And it's going to negate what he does. I mean, he's a deep downfield guy. And to fight that off, you have to be able to run and stop pretty quickly at 10, 12, 15 yards when people are going to respect your speed. So I'm glad that he needed that time off. He obviously needed that time off to help let his body heal and to regain that confidence. And I'm jealous of the fact that he gets to go out there and run around and do it with Jayden Daniels. He gets to go out there and play a little ball, pitch and catch. So he's a guy that I think you have to pay attention to, because his experience is unmatched, right? It's 7 years in the league, having a familiarity with Dallas, so those are some things that you got to think about. But what are you going to do in the special teams roles, right? Because do you have that much left in the tank to where you're going to really, push for that number 3 receiver spot, 2, 3, however they try to break that thing down. Because I think special teams is going to be the place that a lot of people are going to separate themselves. If you can tackle, good, right? Learn how to tackle. If you're down at the bottom and you ain't getting that many reps, you better learn how to tackle. You better learn how to cover a kick. You better get really good at those things, because you're not going to get a lot of chances just running routes.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny here. I'm looking at the list, and I have 7 wide receivers here. I'll name them: Terry, Debo, Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane. So just looking at that 7, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those guys are probably a lock to make the team, which is Terry, Debo, Noah Brown, Jalen Lane. That leaves Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, and Luke McCaffrey. And to your point, I think who's playing special teams, who's willing to do the other things, because, again, Terry, Debo, and Noah, and probably a little sprinkle in some Jalen Lane, they're going to get the snaps, right?
Yeah.
And the thing here is, I liked Michael Gallup even when he played for the Cowboys. I still hate the Cowboys, but I like some of their players. And Michael Gallup was a physical receiver. He wasn't the diva receiver. And to me, he did the little things. To your point, he was willing to block and do those things to help the passing game and the run game. And I like that, because he reminded me when we signed him of last year's Noah Brown signing.
Yeah.
And so, but to your point, there's a numbers game here, because there's more than just running passes and catching routes here. They have to be able to do the other things as well. But my main question to you is Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Is this a possibility he get kind of lost in the number shuffle, the sauce here? Do you think he can make a big step? What's your expectation, I guess, for Luke? Because I'm concerned that Luke's going to get lost in the sauce here.
Yeah, he's gonna have to really prove some things, and the stuff that was on tape late in the year that wasn't so good, wasn't so uplifting. You got to make sure that those things are fixed. And I think it's going to be a summer long, all the way into training camp. Like it's when the pads come on that I think those decisions are going to get made. And I get it. The draft picks from last year, I'm thinking Ben Sinnott, Luke McCaffrey, some of those later round guys, Hampton, Jean Baptiste, more experimental guys. I say experimental, but developmental is what I really mean. All right. Those are the guys where they could benefit from being on practice squad. They benefit from being around a team and some veterans, key veterans like a Zach Ertz and all of those things. Luke McCaffrey's been playing receiver for like 5 years, right? He hadn't been playing receiver that long. And then to go into play it in the NFL at that fast pace, like that's a turning up even more, like, right?
Absolutely.
So like you got to get going to it now. And he has to take the things that he did last year. He just can't make those same mistakes twice. You can't make those same mistakes twice. I mean, I know for certain I'm looking at It was a kickoff return that McNichols had a fumble. It was this game where everybody just had all the crap going on, but like Luke turned down taking on somebody that was running like friggin' torpedo. And then he ran into him, and then it bumped into McNichols, and then the ball came out. That stuff is on tape. And whereas everybody's going to look at McNichols as having the fumble, it's really, a chain reaction type of thing. So that's where you improve. That's where you show the willingness to get your nose in there and get dirty. Because once again, everybody's not getting the rock. Right. You're not getting the rock. You have some skills, but you have to gain that trust, because if they can put you on the field and say, he ain't gonna block, don't even worry about it. We'll still, you know what I mean? If the defense don't even, it's not going to respect you like that, then we got to get you off the field. So ideally, he's coming in and he's knows what he did last year, and he's got, the bloodline who I feel like the way that you hear how Ed McCaffrey pushed his kids, they probably told him, hey man, you need to come on with it if you want to be around here a little bit. So I think he'll bounce back. But we got to see how much he does.
Do you think he make the 50? I know it's still early because we haven't even gone through training camp, but you think he make the 53, or does he become a practice squad guy?
Man, if I had to say right now, I would go practice squad. Mainly because I think Lane has such, his unique ability. Dude's fast. Right, he's the fastest one that you got out there. I mean, Terry can roll, but Lane is fast, and you're hearing about it already. Punt returner. I love that Dan Quinn had B. Mitch out there to talk to the returners. That's the only way to do it, right? Get one of the best to do it, to come and teach your guys and talk to them about the return the ball. But Jalen Lane has a spot on this team. I think he does, and that's 100%. That's one where you were like, well, hey, that would have been Luke before. So where do you fit in at, right? Where do you fit in at? Terry's going to start. Terry's starting over there. Debo's going to get his reps. And once again, special teams, right? You're going to have to find another way to get on the field. Still obviously execute on offense, but you're going to have to find another way to really make some noise. Get to know Larry Izzo.
Yeah, and with the new kickoff rules also, I think that's where Lane can truly be an asset, on punt and kickoff. I think, they may, I don't know if they're going to still go with Eckler with the way it is, but like I said, with the way they have the rules changes this year, that you're going to see a whole lot more kickoffs. And yeah, he can find a seam and just, turn the burners on and go.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting there.
Part of the passing game, Jalen Lane's job to lose, though. At this point, I think he's in the clubhouse at this point, and then of course they'll sprinkle in some other guys, but I think this is Lane's job to lose here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Part of the passing game, besides the wide receivers, is tight end. For me, that's where I've got the biggest concern. Zach Ertz had 66 catches for just over 650 yards last year. In the three playoff games against Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Philly, he had 18 catches. The other two wide receivers, they had 17 catches all season long. He had more catches in the playoffs than Bates and Sinnott did the entire season. If Zach Ertz gets hurt, how big of an impact is that going to be, and how is Washington going to deal with that?
Noah Brown, Debo Samuel, the creativity in getting these other guys the ball, frankly. Now, when you look at it, if you get another tight end, it kind of constricts the field. Now that you have some speed that can be on the field and you can work all 53 and a third going horizontally, you got guys that can push the ball upfield. It gives you more space for these playmakers to get the ball. Where I would love to see one of these other guys, a Sinnott. I mean, I'm looking at Tyree Jackson. John Bates has his role. He's a crazy blocker. It may be those top two guys for the most part, right? I don't think you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel. I don't think they're going to dabble with that much. They're going to find ways to spread the field out. Yeah, you got to do it now. I mean, like you don't just have gone are the days of just going up there and just saying one-on-one and just go beat somebody, right? You got to scheme yourself open, and Jayden makes great decisions. So give people space to catch the ball, and let them go do their dance after that, and then let your quarterback continue to make good decisions. So that's how you fix it. That's what you do, because they definitely didn't do it. I thought they were going to get a tight end in the draft. I kind of had a few that were circled. I thought it was a pretty talented position group to look at. And when you saw what Mason Taylor go off the board and they were just flying off, and I was like, well, all right, I guess they're not going to do it. So hey, it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think having just 5 draft picks, I think restricted them a little bit.
Yeah, but they were very productive with them. You know what I mean? It's like if you only get 5 things, they made it work for the best of it.
They absolutely did, man. So let me ask you just real quick then. Who was your favorite draft pick of those 5?
The favorite draft pick, Trey Amos. Trey Amos, everything you hear about him, the attitude that he played with, the length of arms and being able to get up and play press with folks, especially for this division, right? Especially for this division, you need that, right? Everything that AP did, it was kind of strategic. You saw the Giants get Abdul Carter. So then you go and get the dude that had a pretty good game against Abdul Carter and Connerly. And those guys are going to face each other for years. If you don't think that is in the back of somebody's mind, it is. You think about that. Like, I had to do way back in 2025, I went against him. And 10 years later, we still going at it, right? Like you'll hear some mic'd up that is mentioned at some point in time. So that was a checkmate type of thing. Right, getting Amos, ahead of the trade for George Pickens. That's big, right? You don't have to just say, Marshawn, go follow one of them, and then combination, try to come up with something fancy on the backside. You're going to feel like you can probably match up with where everybody shows up. Mikey Sainristil still is going to continue to grow into a even better player than he was last year. And I think that you have a very diverse group that gets to learn from Marshawn Lattimore. He brings that dog attitude. Sainristil is heady. Quan Martin is a guy that's still a chess piece that's going to move around. So all of those things have worked out pretty well, I think. But Trey Amos is a guy that I think is going to make a pretty big impact.
As a former wide receiver, you mentioned Amos and his long arms getting off the line. How big is that getting off the line versus, okay, now I'm 5 or 7 yards past you and they can't, really mangle you, while you're running your route? How big of a deal is that of getting your timing and getting you off? Just from your experience, kind of speak to that for that aspect of the game.
Oh yeah, if you get delayed, most of the stuff is all off of timing anyways. 5 steps and a hitch, throwing a curl route, or 7 step with no hitch on a skinny. Those things have to happen in timing, especially with the great pass rushers in this league. Folks are going to get back to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds anyways. So you have to make sure that you're operating as fast as possible. Get a little redirected at the line of scrimmage, no problem. Maybe your route's a little bit shorter, but you just cannot get delayed too much because it throws some things off. And, being able to disrupt your opposing team is going to help get more sacks as well. You know that we need that from this Commanders defense as well,
Yeah.
Okay. And interesting. Like I say, you see it in some guys, they're right up at the line, and some guys like to play back and just, flow with the receiver as opposed to hands on. And I'm sure that's part of the scheme that the coordinators putting up there. But I always wondered, how much does it really, into to your point there, from a timing, for the quick timing passes is probably a bigger deal.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it also buys you time. It could buy you time, big third down, right? And you go and play a little 2-man. That's a favorite coverage of a lot of defensive coordinators do a little 2-man on third down. So, if they're able to take away that inside leverage and make the receiver just take an extra step or two before they can get down the field, shoot, quarterback has to get off of that side and he's got to go somewhere else. And maybe you have a game on the other side that's going to get them confused as well. So it all plays together like a beautiful symphony, and everybody just ticking on the same thing, the same chord. It's like music, man. Music to my ears.
And from a defensive perspective, I'm sorry, Reg, from a defensive perspective, if I can delay you a quarter second here and a half a second there for that play, it makes a huge difference, from the quarterback, based off of what you're saying. So it's interesting when you're piecing it all together. It's not one part, it's all the parts that are going to, so they don't get a flow going.
Absolutely. Trust.
Yeah, and I was just going to reiterate the point there that Anthony was making, is that even in a third down situation and the defense is doing a blitz, and then you jam the wide receiver that's trying to get down the field right away, the quarterback's got to get rid of the ball. And if that wide receiver is not where he needs to be, the blitz is coming, he's got to get rid of the ball. So then there's your throwaway type situation. So it does affect the offense in that.
Create turnovers, man. Create turnovers from that type of stuff. Trust and believe, man. It all works together. It allows your defense to hunt. Frankie Louvu getting back there after the quarterback too, man.
Well, let me ask you this: what would be probably, I guess, your biggest concern? Again, I know we're in June, right? We still have a lot of ways to go before we even before we can get to training camp, let alone the season. But what would be, I guess, your biggest concern today, going into camp or to the season at this point?
Biggest concern is what are you doing at pass rush? Just what happens there. Thought you were going to get an edge in the draft, and you didn't. But like I said before, I think that some of those players were developmental and should show some improvement, and they would have a better eye. The front office and coaches, they're going to have a better understanding where their guys are going into their second season. I'm looking at Javonte Jean-Baptiste. I think that's a guy that they like a lot. I think Dominique Hampton is a piece that they've been moving around. And if you don't think that these guys haven't benefited from being around Bobby Wagner, you kidding me? Right? Like just follow him. You ain't got to play football. And right, everything Bobby does, you do. And they get to go out there.
Staff.
Yeah, coaching staff. Ken Norton, Larry Izzo. I mean, there's so much experience that if I feel like this organization has a great read on people's character, and they know what type of player they want. They draft the right type of player. I have another pick that's my other favorite draft pick, and is Kane Medrano. He's the guy that I think that you're going to see makes a lot of noise on defense and really just on the field, because I think he's going to be. He's played a lot of football, right? He's looks more like a safety, but he's picked off passes. He flashed like Johnny Newton did to me, right? If you look at Johnny Newton's highlight tape, dude is breaking up tackles in the backfield, getting sacks. You're running down a screen, like forcing fumbles. You turn on Kane Medrano's tape, he's getting a sack, rushing off the edge. He's dropping up underneath, getting interceptions against tight ends, things like that. And he's somebody that you could put on the field and he's going to make an impact. And I think that he's a guy that could be a chess piece, right? You don't have maybe Bobby Wagner had to be out there all the time. You can get a little younger guy that can go in coverage and maybe play some different games with it. But Kane Medrano is going to be a chess piece that Coach Witt gets to unveil. That's going to be fun to watch.
My only concern, and again, I trust your opinion more than someone who's never played the game. But when I first saw his highlights, I was like excited, man. This kid, how did he last this long? And then when they told me that he switched positions, and then I immediately thought of
Antonio Gibson.
I thought of Luke McCaffrey, right? These guys that are good football players, but to be changing position with a very limited experience at the NFL level just makes me wonder how the transition will go, because he's clearly a pure athlete. He's a football player, Kane Medrano, but will offenses and NFL coordinators be able to take advantage of what he just doesn't know because of the lack of experience at the NFL level? It doesn't mean he won't learn it now. Let me be clear. He can learn it, but I saw that and I was like, oh.
No, I mean, like maybe I don't know his like numbers in the sense of like what he did, like speed wise. But when I look at the tape, the guy was getting interceptions. He's playing
the fastest linebacker.
Yeah, fastest linebacker at the combine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
He can run.
Yeah, okay, good. That's even better. And so he dude can run. He's flying around. I mean, look at what you got now. You don't need he's 230, so he's big enough. I don't need him in the sky because a lot of stuff happens up underneath, so he matches up better against the tight ends in the division. Dallas Goedert, he's matching up better against those guys than some of our linebackers. So he has more things where I think you can use him as a Swiss Army knife. He's just going to be around a lot. I think he's going to be on special teams. He's going to obviously be on special teams, but I think he could maybe get on the field a little bit and be a joker where you can spy. Think about spying. Russell Wilson's in the division, right? You need to have an athletic linebacker to get there. Dak Prescott can still run around. I mean, he's still there. Jalen Hurts is going to do
Jalen Hurts up there. Yeah.
You got to have those test pieces now.
And like I said, I did not like the pick because, again, I think the hit on each one of those picks, and I felt like each one served a purpose. And so it was just the one thing when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, well, he might need a little more development. Yeah. But to your point, looking at his tape.
Well, here's his stats from his senior season. Last two, he had 11 tackles for loss last year. 72 combined total combined tackles, 2 interceptions last year, 1 touchdown, 1 fumble recovery, 4 passes defense, and he forced 3 fumbles. I mean, he's showing up with the right type of, he's not going down in his production. He's finding a way to get to the ball.
And let me add this. His linebackers coach is in Washington. So if there's anyone that knows him, it's Ken Norton, right? And so Ken Norton vouching for him, bringing him in, knowing what he has, what his strengths, what his weaknesses are, knowing that they can continue to work and develop the kid, says everything that I need to know. There's a comfort level with that because as a fan, at this point, I trust everything that Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and that coaching staff is doing. They're pulling all the right strings, making all the right moves. They're not overreacting. They're just being very strategic in what they're doing. And who am I to question what they're doing? So I'm sitting back as a fan and enjoying and just can't wait for this season, man.
And he was a 2-year starter, not just a 1 year.
I only read off of his last year. I only read off of his 2024 season. He started 13 games, had 56 tackles, had 2 sacks in 2013. So I mean, he's showing improvement. I just like how the way the league is going. You got to have a slightly different player, and this guy's been productive. And like you said, Reggie, you gotta trust what they're doing, and it feels good to be able to sit back and be like, all right, shoot, what's for dinner? Oh, AP got it. I bet.
Yeah. Bet. Well, that's it, man. Well, Anthony, man, as we mentioned earlier, you're very gracious with your time. We always appreciate you coming by and chopping it up with us, man. And like I said, you're a friend of the show, and you always got an invite, an open invitation. And again, as Ken mentioned, anyone that is not following Anthony, please make sure you're following him on social media. If you're in the Dallas area, you can look him up. He can be your realtor, all of that good stuff. So, Anthony, man, we appreciate you tuning in, hanging out with us, dropping some knowledge. And as always, man, we appreciate you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me. Y'all stay safe. Hail to the Commanders.
Hail to the Commanders.